This is Working for Progress, a podcast that connects us through conversations about how we craft our working lives and make progress. We'll be joined by our communities from Tribe Porty and Keystone. Tribe Porty is a community co-working space and creative hub. We are full of entrepreneurs, social enterprises, freelancers, charities, and SMEs. Keystone is the other social enterprise which supports women to reimagine their working lives. We do this by providing a holistic approach to business through courses, programs, mentoring, group coaching, and events.
Welcome to today's conversation. I'm Alice, the community manager at Tribe Porty.
And I'm Dani, founder and director of both Tribe Porty and Keystone.
Here at Working for Progress, we're all about connecting good people, sharing their stories, their challenges, and the progress they make for themselves and for others. We hope this podcast challenges your ways of thinking and inspires you to work for progress.
Working for Progress starts with simple pleasures, finishes in awe, and meanders through career journeys in between. Today we welcome Reema Vadoliya. Reema is a passionate business founder, gifted storyteller, and tireless advocate for inclusion in data. Reema has recently launched her new company, People of Data. Through this organisation, she seeks to create a world in which data can be used as a springboard for understanding the real people that data represents. Welcome, Reema.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. We are, just because you can't see, both sitting with our sunglasses on in the studio.
For a really good reason, but then has now turned into a ridiculous reason. I wear regular glasses during the day, which don't have a strong prescription, but do give me a headache if I don't wear them. Edinburgh had a wonderfully sunny day today, and we celebrate and accept these days in Edinburgh. So there I was, walking on the beach with my sunglasses on, get to Tribe this morning, and I couldn't find my other glasses. So we are walking around with these sunglasses on today, and in solidarity, Dani is joining me so that I don't feel ridiculous. But I do still feel ridiculous. But I'm glad maybe you feel ridiculous with me.
I also feel ridiculous.
Perfect.
But actually not ridiculous at all at the same time, so...
This is the perfect balance.
I'm finding it a little jarring.
Okay. Alice just has her glasses on. People are walking by and wondering why Dani is wearing her sunglasses.
Yeah, and now you look like the funny one, which is great.
We're also doing this podcast for the second time. First time the sound wasn't quite right, and Alice and I are both a bit perfectionists, so we wanted to get it right. So anyways, some of it is all of it will be new to our listeners, but not new for the two of us.
But it will be great this time because I've prepped.
Well, good.
There'll be a different kind of answers, but I'm sure still some chaos because that's my brand.
Perfect, good. I hope you didn't prep too much.
No. Good.
Okay, we're going to start it up as we always do. I'd love to hear your 5 simple pleasures.
So this was an accidental simple pleasure last time, because of the aforementioned no prep. But cold water is one of my favourite things.
Okay.
Whether it's going and jumping in the sea or jumping in a lake or more likely walking in slowly because it's really cold. I love being in the cold water. It's incredibly grounding. I have cold showers. I've turned into that person, and it really just gives me a lot of energy in the morning, although there are days where I'm just like, I just won't today, and just being kind to myself in that way. And my rogue cold water is just getting a really nice cold glass of water. It's just nice when it doesn't even have to be a hot day. It's just a nice time to have a cold glass of water. So that's my whole monologue about water.
And have you been doing it for a while? And you're a bit young for the average cold water dipper like myself, who's later 40s.
The cold water dipping, I've been dipping in and out, if you will, for the last couple of years. Maybe the pandemic was when I first started, but since moving to Edinburgh, I've been a regular. And I just love it. I can feel in my week when I haven't been, because I just lose that sense of grounding. And a couple of weeks ago, I started going for the first time on my own. And that was really fun to just speak to myself in the water, because otherwise I couldn't justify to myself why I was there, even though I knew I'd feel good. So yeah, not for ages and ages, but I would feel weird if I didn't do it semi-regularly.
Nice.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
I need to get back into it. It's been a while.
Yeah, we should go. We should do a Tribe Porty swimming club.
Yeah, we do. We used to actually go at lunchtime way back. And it was great. I find it much more fun to go in a small... I don't like big groups necessarily, but I like a little small group to encourage you to get in. Otherwise, it is harder when you go on your own to actually get in.
Absolutely,
you can definitely talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, very easily, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll get that sorted.
Perfect. Other simple pleasures. I have become a real big movie geek over the last year, and it's not that I didn't enjoy movies before, but I feel like I'm happy to go and watch any movie now. Not scary ones, because I'm not. That's not my vibe. But even if it's a quote unquote shitty film, I'm just excited to go and see how someone's created some art and like what is it that they've made. I've got some films that are on rotation for a low energy day, just need to recharge. Third thing, journaling. Journaling is another, and I think all of these things have a real feeling of keeping me grounded. I just love to journal because otherwise I feel like there's lots of stuff rattling around in my brain box, whereas actually I prefer to not have it there, and actually really useful to be journaling so that I can reflect on things, so that I don't have to try to exercise my memory in such an intensive way. And yeah, again, with the cold water swimming, I can feel when I haven't done it for a while, because my body physically feels weird. Like it just feels a bit like, I don't know, just what's the word for this thing that I'm doing? Just like I'm currently like holding my
tense,
fist. Yeah, tense. Right, I just feel tense. So yeah, journaling, very important to me.
I actually started journaling after our conversation last time.
Nice, that's cool. How are you finding it?
Well, great. And I was like, oh, why this is really working well. And then it lasted like 2 weeks. Now I need to.
That's
go back
totally
to
fine.
it.
Be kind to yourself. Like, it's a habit that takes some time, right? So even if you just pick it up today again after our conversation and don't pick it up for another week, that's okay.
Yeah, and being okay with like, we'll use it as a tool. So when my brain is super busy, it's so helpful. Mm-hmm. And that happens at different times of the week, where I just wake up and my thoughts are blah, 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 which is not normally like me, and it should be a cue to go out and just write that stuff out, and then I'll feel better.
Yeah, even if it's in a way that is not full sentences. It's
just,
whatever it is.
Yep.
I've started keeping post-it notes by my bed, because for a little while there I was just writing on my arm, and then I would wake up the next day like, yes, this makes sense, and I'm glad I didn't forget this, but I also can't get this pen out of my skin. So post-it notes has really helped me to do that. Sometimes I, obviously in my sleepy haze, will overwrite what I've written, which is not useful, but anyway, it's better than my arm being covered in pen. I think. Perhaps, I think so. So then my next simple pleasure is dogs. Like, why are they so great? They're just so so amazing, and just, again, that comes back to that like simplicity, and like they're just living their lives looking for food and like smells and pets occasionally when they want that. I love coming to Tribe because there's normally at least one dog here. If there's not, then I normally turn around and go home. I'm kidding, obviously. There's always one dog here.
There's usually at least one.
So yeah, and I used to have a dog called Matty, and he is truly the love of my life. Unfortunately, he's not around anymore, but he was a beautiful Romanian rescue, and just still carry him around with me. You know, that first time actually I went swimming in the water on my own, I just had a chat with Matty, which was nice.
That's nice.
And it was his birthday actually as well. So like, you know, it was really nice to be able to do that. And sometimes I think, oh, do I want another dog? But I mean, I could, but I think the feeling that I have actually is just that I miss Matty, and that's fine. And I'm just glad that we had the time that we did, you know?
Yeah.
So it's nice to come and spend some time with the other lovely Tribe dogs, and Edinburgh is a very dog-friendly city, which is very cool too.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah.
Good simple pleasures.
Yeah.
Lovely. I'd love to hear about your values, and the values that you live by, and how that plays into your work that you're doing now or have done.
Yeah, I guess some of my key values really are like around honesty, integrity, solid communication, which doesn't quite feel like a value, but I think anything can be bent into one. And another key one absolutely is curiosity, and that kind of goes into this idea of just wanting to learn all the time as well, and how that is in my actual everyday life now after some radical change last year, which everything changed, but literally everything changed, you know, like I moved cities, I obviously then moved where I was living, and a lot of relationships changed that I had, like romance ones and personal ones and like family ones. There's just so much change. I quit my job.
Wow.
Excuse me. I started a company. I learned a lot about myself. I did a lot of therapy, you know, so much changed, arguably too much changed in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But the thing that really helped me through all of that is like, you know, okay, why am I doing all of this? And like that honesty with myself, but the curiosity to learn through all these like radical changes, and to embrace the fact that, you know, Edinburgh is a cool city, but actually now when I go to any city, I'm just like, oh no, this is a cool place, because everywhere has something that's cool in it. If you're able to have a bit of headspace to actually see it, and kind of comes back to the journaling stuff, and being able to create the space to see the things when you're out and about, which is something I can do with like a lot of privilege that I have, to be able to have the headspace to not worry about, you know, some more urgent pressing fundamentals of life, to be able to do that. And I want to make sure I not acknowledge that always, is like, you know, not everyone can go around listening to the birds, or going for a cold water dip, or you know, getting a dog, or going to the movies. So yeah, in terms of how those values really come into my life, it's like, it's really nice for me to be able to reflect on them in the way that I journal, obviously in the way that I run a company now as well. I want there to be, for not just me, not just for the people who I employ, but also for anyone who works with my company, that like, you know, that those values aren't just for show, like they truly are. This is what we're doing, and we're doing them. If you don't like it, like, let's have a conversation about it, but if it doesn't work out, that's us, you know. And to stand really firm to that. There's a really lovely thing that a friend introduced me to, which is about how every decision is either a fear-based one or a love-based one. And so it's really interesting to take that and reflect in everything that I do, whether it is, you know, a work-based decision, or something to do with a relationship, again, whether it's a friendship or a romance or family, whatever type of relationship it is. But it really does hold true, and it's almost like annoyingly so. You can really just go through and categorize, you know, I guess the sunglasses thing today is, it's like, I love not having a headache, so there I'm going to walk around and not let the fear of looking stupid wearing sunglasses inside hold me back, right? So yeah, with work, I found that really interesting to think about how the values that I've set, like I say, not just for me, not just for the team that I work with, but for the clients and like the people who just interact with People of Data as a company, know that like we actually mean what we say. And that means that we will make difficult decisions to not work with certain people or certain organizations that don't align, or maybe who aren't ready to do the kind of transformation and like inclusive first work that we do, because it's not for everyone. And I think that's really empowering to know that you can't be for everyone in any part of life. It truly is.
And no one can be.
No, you can't aim for that as a goal, because you're never going to get it.
Two things, if it's okay.
Yeah.
One, do you think that your curiosity was the impetus to this big change of the last year? I don't know the details, obviously, and obviously it's up to you how much you want to share.
Yeah.
Or was there something else that rocked your world last year, that curiosity is a result of coping with something?
I mean, it's really easy for me in particular, and I appreciate this is not everyone's flavour or speed, to get really cheesy and philosophical and a little bit spiritual, but you know, it resonates. You can't be for everyone. We've just discussed this. Matty, honestly, the dog, was the biggest change in my life, and that was in 2020, and it came at a time where things were so chaotic, obviously, because for the world it was the pandemic, but personally as well, there was a lot of chaos that was going on. And so having him there to be like a grounding force, and then almost just like a year later, I didn't have him for very long, but he's had such a massive impact. He got we sent him for a scan because he had a cough and he had tumours on his lungs, and so then that was us knowing that like, oh, he's not going to have very long. And then some similar type things happened with my mum, so then it really just felt like, oh, okay, like, yeah, life is hard and life is short. And so I think that just like creates an opportunity for curiosity that is, if we're only here for this long, however long that is or not, that we should try to make the most of it. Again, that comes from a lot of privilege to be able to say that, but that's why this film Past Lives is so great, because it really just takes that whole thing of you only live once, and it's like, no, maybe that's not the thing. So the curiosity is like sparked off from that moment, and I felt like everything that happened in 2020 was like a catalyst, or the sowing of the seeds that became all of this change that's come later. And yeah, getting to the end of 2022 and just being like, I can't, this is not it, you know, this is not what I want to be doing. Everything then really unraveled after that, but in a way that allowed me to pick up all the pieces and say, okay, cool, keeping this, not keeping this, really value this, let's make sure I put it higher up on my priority list, or for other things, even though it hurts, is just like to let things go. And that's not easy. It's easy to say the words let things go, but it's not easy to do it really. So
love it.
Yeah.
This year my mantra for the year is I'm a body of love, so kind of similar to what you're saying, and trying to really embody that thinking. So how do I speak to other people? How do I speak to myself? How do I run a business? Like, you're right. I think you can frame your decisions, and it does sound kind of cheesy because it's love, but like ultimately that's the most beautiful thing we can be.
Yeah.
I try to do that as well. So yeah, how would the body of love respond as opposed to just something else?
And let me interview you. Like, how does that feel to move from whatever state you were in before to like prioritize love?
I think it's most difficult for myself, which is why I started it. But I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. I have to constantly. It's not automatic necessarily for myself. It's automatic with people I care about. Like I love people hard, and that feels easy.
Yeah.
But it's been most difficult to do with myself, but it's been most interesting to try and apply that to everything, because I think you can. You're right. Am I thinking about this out of fear, or am I thinking about this out of love? And it could be a simple thing. It could be very small and you know, mundane really. But yeah, as with most things, I think it's a practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's not, right? No, right? And so it's interesting what you said about loving people hard, because I can go into really like intense love in so many different ways, you know, like, oh my god, it's so great to have these like cheesy garlic crackers, or
Alice loves them.
this you know, like really going into the cold water swimming, or really going into the journaling, or obviously like the eternal love now that I have for Matty, you know, which is a different kind of thing, but that like can sometimes almost come at a cost of yourself as well, and like losing who you are. So I think a lot of the change, and like I say, just unraveling everything, has allowed me to understand like truly what my foundation is, but knowing that like that foundation can change and will change over time. But for now, I've got this thing to check back into and say, okay, this is who I am, therefore when someone else comes into this space, I can just check in with myself and know, okay, yeah, that felt good or it didn't, and to like respect myself and yeah, love myself, right? To say, okay, yeah, this is not going to work, or it is, or it's going to work, but we're going to need some adaptations or whatever. So yeah, love-based decisions for the win, right?
Okay, I love it. I'm with you. Let's support that however we can.
Yeah.
I'd love to go into your work actually. Tell me what you're doing now, because I get the sense from you just by the way that you speak, but I could be wrong because I don't know you before People of Data, but that this is kind of perfect storm of what you've always wanted to do, things that have happened up to now, and I can hear the passion in your voice around your work. So am I correct in that? And tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think you are correct in that, though. If you told me 5 years ago this is what I'd be doing, I'd be like, not me, you're talking about the wrong person. So I'll start with some of the background. So yeah, I did a maths degree at uni, which I didn't like because it was too theory based, and knowing my brain now, it never was going to work, because I'm a very like, okay, I'm going to move this cup of coffee and it's going to move forward, and like that's what I need, is like I need cause and effect, whereas theory based things don't work for me. I every single semester wanted to quit because I hated studying for exams. I managed to make it through, and yeah, there were just like a series of like minor things that happened during that time. Like I happened to pick a computer science optional module. I happened to do like some logical, like mathematical programming type things. And so when I finished uni, and not quit uni, I finished it, I found a job that was a data analyst intern. I had no idea what this meant. I didn't know. I just didn't know. Like, it's so funny to me that this wasn't always a part of my life, because it's such a big part of my life now. But I went and did the internship and had the most amazing time immediately, because it was immediate, like, okay, you move this data around, these numbers about like website visits, and it allows you to understand who's searching for what holidays on this website, and then we can go and tell the marketing team, we can go and tell the product team, we can go tell the sales team, and they'll do something about it. And so it was very like instantly truly falling in love, as cheesy as that is. And so that was really cool. I stayed at that job for a couple of years until I became the data expert, which didn't feel right to me because I knew there was so much to still learn. I then went and worked at another company. So I'd been a data analyst, which is telling stories with numbers, being a data engineer, which is moving numbers around systems or moving data around systems, being a data scientist, which is doing predictions with data, being a data consultant, which is drawing a lot of pictures on a whiteboard, really, and then kind of managed other data people too. So all of this stuff kind of led me to the last job I had before quitting to start this, where I was the global digital analytics manager at a massive multi-billion-pound company. And before that, I'd only worked at companies where there were 50 people. So to be one of like 70,000 was a lot.
Wow.
But it was really interesting to see, okay, no, but data problems are always the same. Like, it's the same challenge that we want to find out some information. We have maybe a hypothesis, we've got some Lego bricks that we can start to play with to start pulling together a picture and actually tell a story, but while we're missing a lot of Lego bricks, okay, well, what will we do? We'll go back and find them, but we need this answer now, we need it now 5 minutes ago actually. And so it's like trying to understand what's going on in a way that you're never truly gonna, it's the same as what we were saying, you can never truly fully understand what's happening. It's just about best guesses and educated guesses. So yeah, data to me is so exciting because I love the storytelling. That's certainly like another simple pleasure I would say, is like brilliant storytelling. Even less good storytelling is exciting because you can see that there's so much like opportunity to grow there. Yeah, so I've only ever worked at 3 companies, and now this company is my own, and so some people would argue and say that's not a lot of experience, but I'm a rapid learner, as already discussed, and between my second and third company, I did take a moment to think, okay, is now the time to start my own thing? Because People of Data as a name was there. People of Data was born out of this idea that we all hand over our data all the time to so many different companies, and we don't always have clarity as to where that data goes, what is happening with it. And honestly, I don't remember. I wish I had like a story, a cool like origin story of I was sat in this place eating a donut, had a coffee, and like this name came to my mind. That's not what happened. Or maybe it did, I don't know. But yeah, this idea of people of data is we're literally all people of data. Like, we are interacting with data every single day of our lives in ways that are very obvious. You go on your phone, you search for stuff, that creates data by saying, you know, Dani, search for this thing on Google, all the way down to going on the bus. And even if you pay with the change that's in your pocket, that's still data for the bus company. Going to the GP, going shopping, all these different things. Everything in life is underpinned by data, and a lot of people don't like it, and I understand why. It can be very boring, and it's got this like horrible stereotype of like, or archetype maybe, of a boring person talking about data and like being stood in front of a chalkboard or with like a horrible presentation that's so boring. And that's what I've never found data to be that way. And so I'm so driven by the fact that data is really fucking cool and it's really exciting. And like, you know, Dani and Alice are looking at the smile that's on my face. Maybe you can hear it as well. But that's what drives me to do this. And the real driving force for this is we are constantly asked to fill out diversity and inclusion forms, and I've never felt like they've been able to represent me and my evolving identity and intersectional identity. And, you know, I'm a British Indian woman, and then some other stuff that I don't share so readily, but it's really important for me to be able to know and actually see that we don't have to collect data in a way that was designed in the 1995 or 97 from this form. And it makes sense why we got this form. It was a way to say, okay, we've got all these people, how do we understand who they are? But it's not, I would argue it wasn't reflective of life and society then, and it 100% is not reflective of life and society now, because we continue to live in an ever evolving, ever intersectional society. There's so many conversations I've had, and Dani, if you're happy to share a story, I would love to hear it, about how people feel when they fill out this form. You know, I've spoken to someone who recently was talking about being from Egypt, and on a form he doesn't feel like describing himself as African feels quite right. Describing himself as from the Middle East is not quite right. So where does he go? You know, where does he go on this form? Another person, they were talking about their child and filling out a form for their child, and one of the parents had 2 different heritages just from their own parents,
Sure.
and then this other person was from somewhere completely different, so this kid is just other. But that's not enough, you know, like we can't just be other, because that's so incredibly isolating and just like, okay, well, you're not in the majority, so we don't care.
Yeah.
But like when the minority becomes the majority, what do we do? Like, how do we actually tell stories about people? So yeah, for me, People of Data is all about creating stories about people so that they can actually be represented as who they are, but with incredible like love and respect and kindness to all of their identities, and just understanding that we don't need to ask questions that are really reductive, and ultimately, like, so many companies collect this data and do nothing with it, which is actually against GDPR. So there we are.
And do you think most of that comes from ignorance and people, well, one, it being outdated like you said, but 2, people not knowing how to ask the questions, or is because it's not being updated enough to be current, or fundamentally they're just a bit behind in the times, or what, I mean, is it all those things? And how do you see it being beneficial for the individuals?
Yeah, I think it is all those things. I also think it's the, like, society famously is incredibly overstimulating. You know, there's already so many things to do and not enough time in the day. So if someone hands you a framework and says, this is the thing we're going to use, yeah, fine. Okay, we'll do it. That's what the government's using. That's what these companies are using. We'll just use it. But the thing is there's benefit to everyone in this situation to challenge and collect data better for the individual. So for me, as a person who fills out this form, I actually feel seen, and it's not so much of a, oh, okay, this company doesn't, or this organisation doesn't care about me enough to actually allow me to fully represent myself. From an organisational perspective, it's useful because you actually understand who the individuals are, like truly who they are. For like employees who are working at a company, they have diversity and inclusion stuff on their website probably, and then when it comes to the processes within the company, then don't hold true, and there's no, it's maybe just like a faint echo in your memory that they had something about diversity and inclusion on their website. But yeah, that's, I think the benefit is truly like across the whole board, is if an organisation understands you better, they can serve you better. If your organisation exists to make profit, then that means you can probably do that better. If you're an impact driven organisation, you can, you know, have a greater impact because you actually understand who your consumers, service users, individuals that interact with your stuff are. Obviously not scientific.
No, I thank you, and I think that's really helpful for your general punter listening that probably maybe hasn't thought about it as much as you have.
Yeah.
And definitely doesn't have the understanding. And I suppose a drive for it as well. If you're a majority, why would you think about it that much, right? Which is not okay. I'm not saying that's okay. I'm just saying it's quite typical, I'm sure.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is like, what is, and again, let's get philosophical. What is a majority?
I know. I said that when I was like, sometimes I don't like to fill those forms out because I feel too basic.
Yeah, right. And so, like, you know, there's so many interesting stories in this, and I love to talk about it every day, and it does, because that's my job. But one person once told me that they will just make up a person every time, so they're just good, so there's no integrity to these data. Another person who I wasn't sure if they would get it, and this I will be happy to admit that, like, this was my own prejudgment. I was speaking to a straight white man about this, and he told me, he was just like, well, actually, I don't know how to fill out these forms because I've got a condition, which means some days I feel completely fine and I can move around my life and my day, and other days I can't get out of bed. So do I say that I'm disabled or not? I don't know. Like, I'm not always. If it's on this day, you ask me, no. If it's on this day, then I guess I am. So it's really surprising that everyone has something. Everyone has some gripe with that form. I don't know. Do you know, one person once kept their hand up when I said, who enjoys filling out this form? And it was really interesting, the answer, because she said to me, she was just like, it gave me the opportunity to understand that there's more than who I currently am, because I could see that there's other options on this form. And I just thought, yeah, this is true. Maybe we should keep on using them a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. My feeling is let's not. But I think that's the thing, is when you get someone who's in a transition in their identity, whether that's them changing religion or questioning their sexuality or, you know, their gender identity, so many different things, that is where that becomes a real big challenge, because you're asking me to be either or, but right now I'm not sure.
Sure. Don't put me in a box, because
don't
I don't
put
know
me in a
where
box.
I fit.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one of the really exciting things with people of data, is like thinking beyond the tick box. And I'm really excited to, like, in the future, do some really cool things with that name, beyond the tick box. It's such a cool thing. Yeah,
that's very interesting. Yeah, because I think, well, not that I've thought about it loads, but I've definitely thought about it more since I've met you. But my big thing is like, well, but it needs to be for a reason. And yes, I want everybody to feel accepted and included, but also what data, I feel it feels intrusive a lot of the time as well, but then ignoring it's not necessarily inviting either. So yeah, getting it right is probably not as tricky as I think it is, but it's important to get it right for me, and I don't have the tools. And I guess things are changing. It's not that I'm completely ignorant. It's just like things are changing quite fast in terms of how people express themselves, and this acceptance of that you're not just one thing. And, you know, it's a bit silly to think that we are just one thing forevermore in our entire life. But then how does that get represented?
Yeah,
in a form.
Yeah, because there's a safety in knowing, right? It's nice to know who I am, because then that helps me to be like, cool, I'll go about my day this way.
Fit here in a way.
Yeah, and like that's clearly a prehistoric thing, is if we can understand what's in our environment, then we can kind of move through it, and with some safety, because we've got some knowledge, right? Yeah. To be aware of the dangers, as it were. So, you know, given that that's ingrained in our species, how do we move away from that? And I think the starting point is just conversation, is to identify that there's a problem, to then start moving forward to saying, okay, let's just create some like micro challenges here, to then start saying, okay, let's hold people accountable and do better. And that's what I'm building here, is like people of data as an idea that we need to do better. Gen Z, this lovely stat, I don't retain many stats, but because my memory's not good, not because I don't love data, obviously, as discussed, but is Gen Z give a shit about diversity and inclusion, to the point where about 80% of Gen Z have said that they will look into the diversity and inclusion policy of a company before applying. So as that proportion of the working population increases and becomes more of these Gen Z folk, and obviously the next generation too, we have no choice but to do this stuff.
Yes.
So it's just about starting the conversation now. There's some brilliant stuff out there around you know, education, like anti-racism education, and kind of going through all the different protected characteristics. But I think what's really cool about people of data is it's not just about one, it's about all of them, and it's about completely just taking that form and ripping it up and just getting rid of it, so that we can design something new. And that requires some out of the box thinking, which is why I go in the cold water, to just like leave my brain on the shore and come back and find something new, hopefully.
Love it. We could talk forever more. I'm going to ask you though, your last state of flow, or a time where you experienced a sense of awe.
Yesterday, by accident, I woke up at 3:30 a.m. and I've been doing that recently. It's been like 3:30, 4 a.m. and I'm just like, no, cool, I'm going back to sleep, that's going to be fine. But yesterday my brain started whirring on some work things, and I thought, I can't leave this. Like, I don't want this. I don't have enough arm to write on to kind of capture all of this. So I got up, I put my headphones on. The sun wasn't even up yet. I've got a massive whiteboard at home, and I just wrote and just planned, and so much stuff came out, and it got to 2 hours, and I just was like, whoa, that feels great. I then crashed really hard, as Alice saw in the afternoon yesterday. But the flow state that was in the morning, like, honestly, it could have, if I tried to sit at my desk and do that, it could have taken days to get that much stuff out. So I feel really thankful that I get to, have the space to get up at 4 a.m. and or 3:30, and stand and reflect and plan and be a big thinker and be a big dreaming thinker and all that sort of stuff, with some good music on, and eventually at the right time a coffee as well.
That sounds amazing. That's definitely a state of flow, isn't it? When it's just coming out, the ideas have formed, and they're just they must have been ruminating in your brain for overnight or days or weeks or whatever. I can't believe it was actually 2 hours saying it out loud, because it felt like it just went like that. It was very cool. It's really nice to know that I'm capable of having those moments. I love that. I mean, hope it doesn't happen too often, but or at least at 8
well,
a.m.
No, today 4 a.m. came round, and I was just like, no, you will not. You simmer down. You're going back to sleep.
Oh, you were
can do
awake
this
again.
next
Oh,
week.
right, okay.
But I was like, no, I don't care how long it takes. You will go back to sleep. But with love, we talked about love. With love. With love for my later self in the day, who needs to be awake till 11 p.m. today for, an event. So, I hope more flow states come often, but maybe at a later time.
At a reasonable time, yes.
That would be
but
good.
I love that you honour it every now and again, and you've obviously rewarded for actually choosing to let it come out.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see where your business goes and more conversations around this topic. We're really interested. So best of luck, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for wearing sunglasses with me.
Pleasure.
To hear more about Tribe Porty and Keystone, you can find us on all social media platforms. Please head over to our website and subscribe to our newsletters, which includes monthly blogs to provide helpful insights into how we craft our working lives. This has been Working for Progress. We hope you join us again.